Have you ever thought about the fact that it feels so hard to get rich? But I'm telling you, it's easy. And I know I did a video on this recently, but I'm doing another video on it because it really is easy to get rich. But I'm going to define easy. And I submit to you that one of the reasons people don't get rich is because poor people don't understand money. And so I'm going to break down a bunch of different things to you today that's going to help you get locked and loaded before 2025 gets here so you can hit the ground running. Like today's the 30th, I think. Today's the 30th of December. You can hit the ground running today if you'll do these things. So, when I say getting rich is easy, what do I mean? I mean in the Jim Rohn sense of easy. What does that mean? Jim Rohn said, somebody asked him, Mr. Rohn, he said, you struggled for the first 25 years of your life and you barely were able to eke out a meager existence. And he tells a story about how the Girl Scout came to his door and was selling cookies. And he said, we bought cookies yesterday, but he lied to a Girl Scout. And he said, how low can you get to lie to a Girl Scout, right? And so he felt so badly about that. But then 5 years later, he was a millionaire. He said, people ask me, how did you go from struggling for 25 years to within 5 years becoming a millionaire? He said, it was easy. He said, let me define easy. It was something I could do. And I submit to you that getting rich is easy because it's something you can do. In fact, there's a slight possibility that you could get rich doing something that you already do right now. You just have to do it in a different way and for a different group of people. So many people think they have to know everything before they do anything. Like I used to think, well, as soon as I learn how, I'm going to do it. But that's not how it works. You don't get to learn how until you start doing it. And my brother Dwayne's here, so I'm going to put him on blast today. In a good way, because he changed my life. He's my younger brother. He's 3 years younger than me, and he changed my life because I found out about this thing in, I think it was 2001, called internet marketing. Or no, I found out about it in 2001, but I decided to do something about it in 2005. Can y'all tell I'm a slow study, right? I got started on YouTube in 2007. I didn't know there was monetization involved until 2021. I found out about internet marketing in 2001, but I didn't build my first website until 2005. And it was Jermaine Griggs that changed. In Jermaine, he has this website called Hear and Play, and back then he was this young 19-year-old kid, 19-year-old black kid from California, and he's teaching people how to play the piano by ear on the internet. I'm like, what does that mean? You're teaching people to play the piano by ear on the internet. What does that mean? But it didn't matter what it meant because this is what he said. Jermaine, back then in 2005, he was making $400,000 a year teaching people how to play the piano by ear. And I'm like, what does that mean? And so I watched a bunch of his videos. I watched a bunch of Corey Rudel's videos and a bunch of other people's, this is how we make money on the internet stuff. And my brother Dwayne is the only person I knew who knew how to make a website. And we were at his house. We were having a family get together, as we often do. I'm like, Dwayne, we can make all this money. You know how to, the technology part. I know the marketing part. There's this kid, he's 19 years old. He's making $400,000 a year on the internet. Dude, we're going to get rich. And Dwayne already had some experience in building websites for people, and it had been quite frustrating. Can I get a witness? Right? They always wanted him to change it. They didn't give him enough details. They wanted him to change it without paying him. He was kind of undercharging for his services. And so to him, the idea of making money on the internet was building websites for people who didn't want to pay, who wanted to make changes all the time. And so it was an absolute headache. Did I paint that fairly accurately? Right? And so when I said this to him about us making all this money on the internet, he says, look, man. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Because I'm not used to my little brother talking to me like that. I'm just saying. I was at his house though, so I let it go. He said, look, man, if you want to learn how to build a website, do what I did. Go get these videos out of the church library. Professor teaches Microsoft front page, and then learn how to build your own website. Now, I'm a little irritated because he's hollering at me, and I'm wanting to help me make this money, but I'm also confused. We have videos in the church library on how to make a website? What? What are you talking about? I literally went and got those videos the next day. It's so easy now. You don't need Microsoft front page. Whew, thank God. Right? You don't need Microsoft front page. So I went and got these videos. I literally took this video home. I'd watch part of it. I'd take some notes. I'd write down terms. Sometimes I'd call Dwayne, what's an index.html? What does that even mean, right? And so you had to create all these files and subfolders and root domains and root directories. And you had to know all of this technical gobbledygook that you don't need. Everything's drag and drop and point and click now. Or just ask ChatGPT to build your website. There was none of that when we started, right? And so I built my first website. After 30 days, But the hard part wasn't even building the website. I mean, it was. The hard part was 2 weeks of that 4 weeks, it took me to figure out how do you like make it so people can pay you money on the computer, right? Because anyway, it was so hard back then, but I did it anyway. And I thought, if I can just make $400 my first month, I know this is gonna be great. If I can make 700, I'll be the king of internet marketing mountain. But I didn't make $400, and I didn't make 700. I made $6,700 my first month. I'm like, what? But I thought it was a fluke. And here's why I thought it was a fluke. Because back then we didn't have webinars. We only had conference calls, right? And I didn't even have a conference call. This guy named Jeff invited me to speak on his conference call. So I go on Jeff's conference call, and this was in June of 2005, and I teach some really cool stuff, and I make an offer for $97. 5,700 of the $6,700 came in that 24 hours after that conference call. So guess what I thought? I thought this was a fluke. There's no way in the world there's this much money on this in this computer, and I didn't know about it, right? So I thought, okay, this conference call thing. I know what I'll do. I'll start a conference call. I started a conference call. Jeff was doing a weekly conference call. I came on his conference call. I made $5,700 in 24 hours. I'm like, I'm going to start a conference call. So I started a conference call, and I started doing a conference call every week. The hour to empower, every Monday night at 9. But I've got a problem. I'm not a night person. Like, I get sleepy really. I literally, every night, my family makes fun of me because I go upstairs and run my bath water at 8:30. Right, because I'm done. I'm done dealing with people. I'm done working. I'm done thinking. I'm just going to relax. Maybe watch some YouTube videos. So I'm doing a conference call one night at 9 p.m. I literally fell asleep in the middle of me talking. Oh, wow, Dwayne. So my brother Dwayne said more than once. That is true. But one time I fell asleep and I just started like babbling this incoherent nonsense, and I'm dreaming about me and my brother Dwayne playing golf, and I woke up and said, "Good shot, Dwayne." Do you remember that? In the middle of a conference call. So at least we didn't have webinars, they couldn't see me fall asleep. But anyway, so I thought it was a fluke. I started a conference call, then I started making offers on my conference call from time to time. And the next month, I didn't make $6,700, I only made $5,700. The next month, I made $6,100. That wasn't starting in June. By December of that year, I had my first $10,000 month. Now, it was a lot harder in 2005 than it is right now. It was like 100 times or a couple hundred times harder in 2005 than it is right now. Like, what are we doing? What are we waiting for? There are people out there that are waiting for you to show up. And I know some people think, yeah, but you can't just make money teaching people how to do stuff. Really? Tell Harvard that. Tell Yale, Stanford. Tell all of the colleges that make millions of dollars a year to teach people how to get a job. That you can't make money teaching people how to do stuff. I'm just saying. So, it's easy to get rich. So, when I say poor people don't understand money, what do I mean? I've said this before, I'll say it again. Poor people think the primary purpose of money is paying bills. And because they think the primary purpose of making money is paying bills, they only seek to make enough money to pay their bills. That's one of the reasons people stay poor. If you want to go from being poor to being wealthy, you have to get to the place in your life, either through cutting your expenses or increasing your income, where you have some discretionary income left over at the end of all of your bills being paid. If you don't have any discretionary income left over, then you're either spending too much or you're not making enough, or a combination of both. Now, one of the reasons poor people have a hard time creating wealth and making enough money, like in their, quote, spare time, I'm going to call it discretionary time, in their discretionary time, is because when you first start a business, generally speaking, it doesn't matter what the business is. It could be real estate, it could be insurance, it could be network marketing, it could be selling jewelry online, it could be in affiliate marketing, it doesn't matter. When you first get started as a business, you don't generally come out of the gate making money. And because we've been programmed to get an education for the purpose of selling our time to the highest bidder, when we can't get paid initially, we're so addicted to a paycheck that we quit the business because we expected it to pay like a job. We expected it to pay us just for showing up. And businesses don't do that. Businesses only pay you for producing a result for someone other than yourself. Okay, cool. So get to the place in your life where you're making more money and you're cutting your expenses. Cool. So it's easy to get rich if, number one, you think like a rich person. Okay? How does a rich person think? Well, yeah, the rich person thinks positive and poor people think negative. Okay, that's fine. Rich people believe their beliefs and doubt their doubts, and poor people believe their doubts and doubt their beliefs. Yeah, that too. But there's more to it than that. When I say think like a rich person, here's what I mean. If you're going to think like a wealthy entrepreneur, what you have to do is you have to think about, how can I solve a big problem? Think about that. People will pay you in direct proportion to the problem you solve for them. The bigger the problem, the bigger the paycheck. So, how can I solve a big problem? Do you understand Martha Stewart became a billionaire teaching women how to be better homemakers? Why? Because there's a big pool of people out there who want to be better homemakers, but their mom didn't teach them. Oh, I get it. How long do you have to go to physical therapy school to become a physical therapist? After your 4-year degree? You have to go to school for 3 more years. So, and they, since you paid for the first 4, they let you have the last 3 for free, right? Absolutely not. You have to pay for that as well. How much money do you make in the first 4 years of learning how to be a physical therapist? 0. How much money do you make in those 3 years after your undergraduate degree? How much money do you make during that time? Negative 0. So you're making less. You're literally just spending money for 7 years so that you can build the skills to solve people's physical problems. Man, when I got physical problems, when I have ailments, man, there's no price I won't pay. Like, to get out of pain, like, there's no price I won't pay. Anyway, solve a big problem. You have to solve a big problem. So you have to think like a problem solver. Let me ask you, whose problem are you seeking to solve right now? I promise you, if you're struggling your way through life right now, the only person's problem you're seeking to solve is your own. That's why you're stuck. Because you're self-consumed and self-absorbed. Figure out how to solve other people's problems. So once you figure out a solution to a big problem, the next thing you have to do is you have to serve a big pool of people. So you solve a big problem, and then you serve that solution to a big pool of people. The bigger the problem and the bigger the pool of people, the more money you make. It's so simple, a 3rd grader can understand it. This is not hard stuff. Like, I do know how to do some hard stuff, but I do my best to do the more leveraged stuff first, and then pay people to do the hard stuff like cutting my grass, cleaning my pool, right? So you serve a big pool of people. Some of you aren't making money because the problem you solve isn't big enough. And as an entrepreneur, the problem you solve is the problem you desire to solve, but nobody desires to pay to have it solved. That's why you're struggling to be an entrepreneur, because you desire to solve a problem nobody wants to solve. But I wanted to do this for a living all my life. That has nothing to do with anybody out there. The other problem is you're wanting to solve the problem, but you're solving that problem for too small a pool of people. So when you think like a rich person, you think, okay, how can I solve this problem? How can I solve this problem? And then you figure out a solution. Ideally, you optimize that solution. After you optimize that solution, you systemize that solution. And then what you can do is you can monetize that solution. Why? Because you figured it out. You made it smooth. You took out all the bumps, all the hiccups. And then you made it available to a whole lot of people who have that problem. And then sell a better product. Better than what? Better than the products they have now that are solving that problem. And why do I say sell a product? Because you remember I'm going to do some millionaire math now. So there are 2 types of businesses. How many types? 2. Talk to me, everybody. How many types? 2. You either have a business that sells a product, or you have a business that sells a service. If you have a business that sells a service that you have to fulfill, that service is anchored, that's an anchor, to time. Is time something you have in limited supply or unlimited supply? Limited supply. So if you anchor your solution to time, which is which you have in limited supply, then that solution, the money that can make you is going to be limited. Why? You only have so much time, right? So, but if you anchor it to a product, if you anchor it to a product like a book, right? If you anchor it to a product like a book, then it takes no longer to sell 100,000 books than it does to sell one. So what happens is, because once I take my business and I productize my solution, if I have a book that makes me $20 profit, all I have to do is sell 50,000 books. Now, I made that sound like an oversimplification. All I have to do is sell 50,000 books, because 50,000 is a large number. But 50,000, how do I sell 50,000 books? Well, first, here's what you got to do. You got to write the book. And the book has to solve a big problem for a big pool of people. And then what you do is you find people on the internet who have the attention of that big pool of people, and you get some of those people to interview you in front of their audience. And then you talk about the solution. You don't talk about the book. You talk about the solution that you solve, and then at the end, you let them know they can buy the book if they want to know more. Okay? You sell 50,000 books. 50,000, if you're multiplying two numbers that end in zero, you multiply two whole numbers. 5 times 2 is 10. Then you count the zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Congratulations, you're a millionaire. Now this is why I'm saying, like, you sell a product. Now, you could take that same product and enhance it, move this zero off the back of this number, put it on the back of that number, and sell a $200,000 course or audio program, and now you only have to sell 5,000 units to make the same $1 million. And then if you move another zero, and you turn it into a $2,000 home study course, you only need to sell 500. Guess what? 500 is like 10 a week for a year. 10 a week is 2 a day, 5 days a week. You can have weekends off and 2 weeks of vacation and still make $1 million a year. Or you can move another zero and have a $20,000 mastermind. You don't have to sell 50. That's 1 a week. Or you could have a $200,000 VIP day and only sell 5. And you make $1 million. Now, when I say it's easy to get rich, here's what I mean. It's something you can do. But remember what else Jim Rohn said. He said, what's easy to do is also easy not to do. And Jim Rohn said, I took the lesser of two easies, which means I did the easy things that I could do for 5 years, and that's how I became rich. Now, so you think like a rich person, then you talk like a rich person. Do you know you can tell somebody's financial state in life by how they talk? Did you know that? So here's what I mean. When I say talk like a rich person, here's what I mean. When you talk, you must let your words empower your expectations. Most people's words disempower their expectations. What do I mean when I say that? Most people's words disempower their expectations. What does that mean? It means people say things like, oh, I'm such an idiot. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at that. I don't know how to. I can't. I don't understand this. I don't understand that. You must let your words empower your expectations. Because your words are either going to empower your expectations or they're going to disempower your expectations. But they're your words. Figure out which one you want. They're your words, right? And so I have to decide. And here's what you may remember a couple weeks ago or in one of my videos. I'm sure y'all remember because I just said it last week. In order to have progress in any area of life, intention is required. Intention is always required for progress. But the only thing that's necessary for digression is neglect. You don't have to intend to make your life worse. All you have to do is not intend to make it better. What? Yeah, that was my collar, actually. So, and I probably shouldn't have worn this collared shirt because, like, when I turn my head now, the cord is scratching on my microphone. Sorry about that on YouTube. Okay, so I'll remember that next time I get ready to put on a collared shirt. So empower your expectations. Like, learn to give yourselves empowering, encouraging words like, oh man, stuff like this always works out in my favor. Everything always goes my way. How are you doing? You know what y'all say? Somebody says, how are you doing? You say, I'm above the dirt. Okay, so last week were you below the dirt? How you doing? I'm alive. Rich people don't talk like that. I'm alive. That's one of the reasons I spoke to you. How are you doing? Not too bad. What does that mean? I'm bad, but not too bad. How much worse do you have to be too bad? But we're not even conscious of the fact that this is how we talk. When people ask me how I'm doing, I'm utterly fantastic. Better now that I'm talking to you. How are you? Excellent, as always. Better now that I'm talking to you. And you know what people do? They laugh. I don't know if they're laughing at the fact that I'm excellent or the fact that I said I'm doing better now that I'm talking to them. And some of you say, well, you're not doing better just because you're talking to somebody. Yes, I am. Because I have the opportunity to address another human being who's made in the image of God. That makes my life better. Wow. So let your words empower your expectations. Let your words empower your imagination. Man, if you learn to ask this question, what if? What if I write a book and sell 100,000 copies? What if I start a business and it goes bonkers? I was watching a YouTube video on Jeff Bezos last night on this YouTube channel where it's a motivational YouTube channel. And the guy, Jeff Bezos, he said, I remember I was working on Wall Street. I went to my boss and I said, hey, I'm going to start a business where I'm going to sell books out of my garage. And I'm going to build a $100 billion company and become the richest man in the world. Do you want to invest in my business? And then the guy said, you got to understand, when Jeff Bezos started Amazon, there was no such thing as a $100 billion company. And the guy basically laughed at him. Become the richest man in the world. See, it didn't matter that Jeff Bezos' boss, his boss said to him, he said, that sounds like a really good idea. Here's what he said, for somebody who doesn't already have a great job. Aren't we all glad Jeff Bezos didn't listen to that guy? So, let your words expand your imagination. Like, learn to say words that help you clarify the vision that you have for your life so you can more easily step into it. And no, I'm not talking about speaking things into existence. I'm talking about speaking words of encouragement to allow your imagination to run wild. Imagine what it's going to be like to have a business that's successful, that employs people so that they can take care of their families. Imagine what it's going to be like so that you can start a business that solves other people's problems. Imagine what it's going to be like when you have 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Imagine how awesome it's going to be when you have 1 million subscribers on YouTube. Imagine how awesome it's going to be to build a business that does 7 figures and then 8 figures and then maybe 9 figures. Imagine, use words that empower your imagination and cause you to see things bigger than you ever thought you could see things in the past. And then talk like a rich person. Let your words express your appreciation. I find it fascinating that there's so much lack of gratitude in the world. We have so much to be grateful for. Like what? Everything. Every good thing in your life is a gift. No, Myron, I built this business right. But the ability to build that business was a gift. And everybody didn't receive that same gift. If you're not grateful for it and you think you're the catch-all, end-all, you want to know how little control you are? Just think about how much control you have the next time you go to a funeral. That'll let you know that you have way less than you thought you had before you showed up that day. Express appreciation for the people in your lives while you can. Your tongue is not going to break if you say thank you. Your heart's not going to stop beating because you feel a sense of gratitude for people who have impacted your life in some way. People will walk around. There was a guy who used to teach at this college that I went to. He said, some of you people have faces so long you could throw it out the window and use it for a fire escape. Fire escape, not escape, fire escape. It's so fascinating to me. How in the world can you wake up and your eyes open and you can see the people you love and you're not grateful? And you can hear the words of the people you love and not grateful, and hear the birds singing in the trees and you're not grateful, and you stand up and your legs work and you're not grateful. There are so many people that don't have legs. So many people that don't have arms. And you're going to walk through life with a bad attitude, with so many gifts, you don't even have time to open them all. Let your words express appreciation to God for all the goodness he's given you, appreciation to all the people in your life. But here's what happens. We get so used to having good things in our lives, we don't say thank you because we don't feel thankful. Can I get a witness? We think it's owed to us, and it's not. And then take action like a rich person. What kind of action does a rich person take? Take proficient action. What does that mean? That means focus on doing the things you're good at. Like, I love to play golf. There was a time in my life where I had an aspiration to be a Champions Tour, a senior tour golfer. But the amount of time that I would have to put into golf in order to make that happen, I'd have to take away from something that I'm already proficient in, that helps more people than me hitting a golf ball. And see, we have, and if that's what you desire to do, hey, do your thing. But what if we put all of our intention on the things we're good at, our proficiencies? Take proficient action. You know what I'm good at? Here's what's interesting. The way to get good at something is by being bad at it and keep doing it long enough to get good. I got started in network marketing in 1985, selling insurance and investments through a company called A.L. Williams. I was terrible. I was terrible at sales. I was terrible at recruiting. I was terrible. Like, it took me 18 months to make my first sale, but I didn't quit. You know why I didn't quit? Because there was no other arena that I had ever seen where I knew anybody that was making $10,000 a month. And I knew people were making $10,000 a month in 1985. I said, I'm going to learn how to do this thing called selling. And I did presentation after presentation after presentation. Family members said no, friends said no, strangers said no, everybody said no. So, bro, no. It's a two-letter word. What part are you having a hard time with? The N or the O? And so I stayed bad at it, but I kept doing it until eventually somebody said yes. And I said, what'd you say? And once I found the formula that got to yes, man, I documented that process and then put it on rinse and repeat. Everybody's selling something. YouTube is selling you on watching YouTube videos. Netflix is selling you on watching Netflix videos. Prime is selling you on Prime. Everybody's selling you on something. You might as well get good at sales. So I said, I'm going to get good at sales. I got good at sales. I went from being terrible to good. Well, the good thing about somebody who went from being terrible to good is this. If somebody was terrible and they stayed in something long enough to get good and they paid attention, they can probably teach somebody else who's not good at it how to get good at it. And so, the area of your proficiency, take proficient action, take passionate action. Now, I love learning. I am a lifelong learner. I'm always learning something. Right now I'm learning guitar, and I love music theory. I'm one of those people who loves music theory more than I love music, which is weird, and I know, because it is what it is. But I like music theory. I'm a fan. I love understanding how it works, because then I can figure it out and I can create my own stuff. I don't have to just copy other people's stuff. Okay, cool. So you take passionate action. You learn how to do something that you love to do, and then you teach other people how to do it. That's what I do. That's what I would recommend you do. Do you understand the world is changing so fast? What if there was nobody out there to teach you how to use AI? What if there were nobody out there to teach you how to build a website? What if there's nobody out there to teach you how to build a sales funnel? What if there's nobody out there to teach you how to write a book? You think you're just going to figure it out on your own? Take passionate action. I love teaching business. I love teaching the Bible. I love teaching business from a biblical perspective because the Bible has so much to say about business. Seest thou a man diligent in his business? He shall stand before kings. He shall not stand before mean men. Wow. Diligent in business. Okay, I need to be diligent in business. Huh. Take passionate action. So, Dwayne can probably remember, my brother Dwayne can probably remember, we were teenagers. We were passionate about learning the Bible. Like, we studied it, we read it, we memorized it. We went out and shared the gospel with people on Saturdays all day, right? So I love teaching the Bible. I love teaching things I've learned. Man, I find something out, I'm like, hey, dude, like I said I went to my brother Dwayne, I figured we can make this money on the internet. I had to go tell somebody. Right? So take passionate action. And then take productive and profitable action. What does that mean? Take productive and profitable action. Take the kind of action that makes you better as you produce profits by changing other people's lives with a big problem that you've solved. This is how we do it. This is how everybody does it who does it. It's how everybody does it who does it. So my recommendation to you is do the easy things you can do. Forget the rest. Here's the beauty of it. I don't have to be Michael Jordan. I don't have to be Jeff Bezos. I don't have to be Tiger Woods. You don't have to be me. I don't have to be you. We can all be ourselves and serve a big pool of people with a big problem that we solve in our own little corner of the world, and the world becomes a better place. That's what I would recommend. Hope this video helps you. Stay blessed by the best, and we'll see you on the next video.